Universal understanding. Humanity's final goal. 50 years ago, Gene Roddenberry took up the challenge of allowing mankind to explore their very best selves by following the adventures of very human, very real characters as they traveled the universe to explore all that it had to offer. These individuals judged each other not by the planet they were born on, not by the color of their skin, not by the religion or faith program that they practiced, but rather and solely by the content of their character. Our continuing challenge is to live up to the ideals that Roddenberry laid out for us 50 years later. That is the continuing story of Star Trek. And this is my review of Mattel's 50th anniversary Star Trek original series action figures. As I said, this is my review of the action figures. You have Lieutenant Uhura and Captain Kirk. Obviously, Uhura is in her traditional lieutenant's red outfit. As a red dress, she gets to live. She is carrying a carrying case for the transponder. Captain Kirk is in his traditional captain's yellow shirt with the gold trim on the lower arms. He's carrying both a phaser and it looks like the communicator. Both of them have what should be a pin that they would use to beam themselves up, but it does not appear to be a pin, but rather an iron-on. We'll get into those details in a moment. But first I'd like to show you, if I may, the sides of the box. One side, put them together. Obviously you have the characters on one side, on the other, and unfortunately not matching up, you have the Starship Enterprise. On the back, you have the same top post that details the series itself and why 50 years later it's still very important. And then as you scroll down, there is a description, not so much of the dolls themselves, but a combination of the characters and the decision-making process for the costumes. Let's see how right those decisions are, and go ahead and debox the dolls. And here they are, out of the box. Lieutenant Uhura, Captain Kirk. Captain Kirk's trying to be a little stealthy. He's got his phaser behind him. He's talking into his communicator. Lieutenant Uhura, by the way, also has a communicator, which I did not notice, unfortunately, when I was originally looking at her in the box. She does, in fact, have a transponder in her purse. The heights appear to be correct in terms of the difference between Nichelle Nichols and William Shatner. Now, as for the face sculpts, let's face it, guys, that really does look like Nichelle Nichols. That is her, circa 1966, 1967, when she was first on the show. Captain Kirk, it's close. I mean, it is leaning toward William Shatner, but in my humble opinion, it looks like William Shatner and Chris Pine had a child, and it was a boy, and he's playing dress-up. Let's put Captain Kirk aside for a few minutes while we go ahead and take a look at the lovely lieutenant. Let's go ahead and push her back a little bit so you can take a look at her hair. It is cropped short in the back. It looks like it was a razor cut. I'm sorry that the tag is still in there from getting her out. Very, very firm. You're gonna have to use a lot of shampoo if you want to restyle her hair, but at least it's holding, which is important. Her stockings, if I may scroll down just a bit. Her stockings do have a seam in the back. That's in keeping with the 1960s. Her boots, if I can scroll down a little bit more, are split in the back, so you can put them on easily. That's the good news. The bad news is, if that's bad news for you, they're plastic. Scrolling back up a little bit as we move toward the front. There is a detail which you will see very clearly once you get it. There is a seam here, which is, I guess, supposed to be where the skirt would meet the top, where you're supposed to put a belt that isn't here. What it is very good for, though, is giving you an indication of where you might want to put the back stand, in case you want to pose her a certain way. As you can see, her arms are posable. Her wrists also. Her knees bend, so if you want to have her in a sort of a football pose. And she's holding. She's not falling out of this stand. Let's go ahead and take a look at Captain Kirk. Gotta admit, not entirely sure what they were thinking with the pants. He is wearing boots, which is fine, but then they give him these, like, clam digger trimmed, there's a V-cut here, trousers, but instead of it being a V-cut and then you could see straight through to the boots, there's another layer of material here, so I really don't get why they did that, and I don't really remember ever seeing Kirk wearing clam diggers. The material is your typical rough cotton. His shirt and his trousers are going to open and close with Velcro, which is good for kids. If kids were going to be playing with this. As I said, there is the detailing here on both arms. He is holding a phaser, and he is holding the communicator. He needs to have the small rubber bands wrapped around his hand to do it. I don't think it's going to stay if those rubber bands are taken out. Like Lieutenant Uhura, he bends at the elbow. He can also, not as easily, with a little more stiffness, bend at the wrist. As a matter of fact, the left one really doesn't want to bend, so I'm not going to bend this way, so. It bends the wrong way! Kirk's got a broken wrist! No, just kidding. His knee is solid. It will not bend. So you do not have a fully posable leg as you have the fully posable upper body. And as I said, the sculpt, Chris Pine and William Shatner had a baby, and the baby came out with plastic hair. I mean, I'm sure I'm going to get Star Trek people telling me that the pants are legit. I swear to God, I never noticed. But let's go ahead now and take a couple of minutes to take a look at the accessories that they came with. I'm starting with Captain Kirk's phaser. It does not have a trigger to fire. I think there is no detail for that. It does, however, have a little bit of detailing on the top. Sort of similar to the camcorder. I'm sorry, the communicator. This checkerboard pattern here has a little button here that doesn't press down, and you have the detailing in the back. The other side is exactly the same, but I wanted you to see that. Next we have the camcorder, the communicator. I keep calling it a camcorder. It's a communicator. I'm sorry, guys. Here's the communicator looking very suspiciously like the phone they gave to the Bond girl who came with the 50th anniversary James Bond gift set. When you open it, there's a little bit of plastic in there and a sticker that is authentic to what the communicators would have looked like instead of it being a dial pad. I should tell you that Captain Kirk's communicator came apart on me when I opened it, and I'm fairly certain that that's a combination of Mattel and yours truly, the klutz. We also have the tricorder. It does have at the top the reading screen along with the other two computer compartments. The top will move this way or this way. So if you have that doo-doo, there you go. Doo-doo. But that's about it. Nothing else moves here. It doesn't come out of here. It's a solid one piece, except for the part that swivels at the top. Going to bring Lieutenant Uhura back forward so you can see. As I said, the good lieutenant, and Captain Kirk for that matter, do not have the Beam Me Up pin, the communicator, on their costumes. This is a sticker. It looks to be fairly solidly attached. Just interesting to note, and I will, as I bring Captain Kirk back in. On Lieutenant Uhura, there is a sort of swirl on hers. On Captain Kirk's, I can lean him in a bit, it's a shooting star. So that's an interesting little detail that they included. Lieutenant Uhura's dress is a jersey cotton. Captain Kirk's shirt is a shiny lycra. I think that's relatively in keeping with the differences in their costumes circa 67, 68. It is a black box figure, so you really cannot ask Mattel to spend a tremendous amount on their costuming. But then again, this is a 50th anniversary special gift set. It would have been nice if they used something other than plastic for her earrings. If perhaps they actually sewed in the communicators. Perhaps maybe did a little something else with the boots. But all in all, I really can't complain. For the price that they are, and they're still, if you know where to look, very reasonably priced. They're not bad. They were under $25 at Toys R Us, so these are These are very reasonably priced dolls, and you can certainly give them to a collector, and the collector will love them. You can give them to a child, and they're sturdy enough that the child is not going to break them. Perhaps that'll explain the boots. So all in all, they are a worthy playline tribute to Star Trek and its 50th anniversary. If you're looking for something a little more detailed, if you're looking for something with better accessories, you're going to have to look at the action figures that are out there. But be prepared that you're also going to be looking at a price that's at a $75, $100, $125 price point, and that's just to start. And before I sign off, for anyone who is curious and might want to enjoy themselves and enjoy Nichelle Nichols and William Shatner. Both of them are on Twitter. Both of them tweet frequently. As a matter of fact, William Shatner is a deeply passionate Twitter communicator. And he's also very supportive of many charitable endeavors, so you might want to check that out. Nichelle Nichols has just put out her first album. The other day she mentioned... July 20th, and this is now July 22nd, she mentioned she had put out her first single from that album. Appropriately, it's Fly Me to the Moon. I'll put the iTunes link in the description box below if you want to check them out. This is Barbara signing off on her Star Trek review. And if I may say something copyrighted, live long and prosper.